Bill was wrongfully convicted of an arson. One of the things that was so important about this case was that it was the first case using new arson science to overturn a judgment here in Illinois. And basically, what happened was, in terms of the judgment, and then I want to keep this part short, you all have the news release, but what happened in terms of the judgment was that when the fire occurred, afterwards the state's attorney went in and argued, Bill gave a false confession at the encouragement of the authorities that said that he had poured arson on newspaper and then set the fire with a cigarette.
Poured arson, you said?
I'm sorry, poured vodka. I did that earlier, I'm sorry. that Bill had poured vodka, thank you for correcting me. That Bill had poured vodka onto newspaper and then, using a cigarette, had set it on fire. At that time, the investigators just concluded that was accurate because that was his confession, and it turns out now that the arson science just conclusively proved that that was impossible. Even the state's science with witnesses refuted that as a possible occurrence. And so that was, I think, the pivotal part of the case that led to the verdict of not guilty. And that's so 22 years in prison, plus the last year. So what I told Bill is I'm going to start talking about 23 years in prison. He was out for a year on bond, almost a year on bond, and so it's been the major chunk of his life spent locked up for a crime he didn't commit. Overwhelmed.
I don't think being bitter is really going to help me. I mean, I have my moments, but you know, overall, it's just harder on your health with everything else. You're readjusting to just walking down the street, you know, crowded elevators. I mean, things that everybody goes through all the time. It's just so much adjustment. But I'm grateful for all the help from everybody. It's just been wonderful, and I wouldn't be free.
Low points, obviously, but
yeah.
Take us through what gave you hope and strength.
I think the lowest points for any of this is losing people you love. Prison's one thing, but when you're losing people you love while you're locked up, that's way worse.
The hope and strength?
Sure.
From people who were, suddenly you found out there were people who cared and
were
going to fight for you?
You don't, once you know, you start losing family members from, you know, aging and disease and accidents and what have you, and then you're left with very little. So
who did you lose during the time you were in prison?
My brother and my dad. So, and but I don't know. There isn't. You just have to find faith. I mean, it's different for everybody. Everybody has their own way they get through it. So
this may be a better question for you.
It's just, it's hard to, no, I've been watching too.